The existence of the categories, I think, is a very, very strong aspect of the policy here in Ontario. And of course, if we trace back the origin of those, it was the recognition, particularly in content-heavy areas like mathematics and science, that there was, from a summative assessment standpoint, far too much emphasis on, do you know it? Which, and of course, if the focus of teaching and learning is on knowing, then unfortunately the focus of assessment becomes memorization and measuring how good a student's memory is, which in this day and age seems to be the wrong tree to bark up, given that my memory is failing me fast, and thank goodness for the internet. So in other words, facts are at my fingertips, but what I can't find on the internet is understanding of concepts. I can't obtain sophisticated skills from the internet. I can get facts, but this is where the teacher's role is so critical. So the existence of the categories to help teachers understand that their program, the curriculum, teaching, assessment, needs to address not just what students know, but what they understand. Evidence that they can think and inquire in open-ended and creative ways. Evidence that they can apply their learning along the lines of what I just talked about. Evidence that they can communicate their understanding. That is the rationale for the categories. And I think it's a very, very solid one. The overall expectations do provide excellent hints to the teacher with respect to appropriate balance. So I'm arguing for balance is actually a good thing. It's not acceptable if a student aces two of the categories and blows the other two. In order for them to be adequately prepared to perform at the next grade level, they must have demonstrated minimally limited proficiency across all four categories and with respect to all of the overall expectations. I know that recently, certainly since the release of the latest PISA data, the debate has been raging. I consider it an absolutely foolish debate around, a focus on basic math facts or discovery math, the term that no one that I know in the mathematics community even uses. This is a media fabrication, but there we are. It sells papers. I'm dating myself, sells papers, you know what I mean. But it's never an either or. And so in terms of the design of assessment tasks, again, it's got to be a backward design approach. I told a story in my session this morning about my own son, Chris. And Chris was looking for a summer job. This is a number of years ago when he was going to university for the first time. And we went into Rona, and Chris was faced with Rona's pre-employment mathematics test. And one of the questions was, how many sheets of drywall do you need to drywall a room with the following dimensions? Well, Chris, who was supposed to take this test as part of his interview, came out to me in the car to ask for help. One, because I had a calculator, but two, because he knew he had to manipulate the numbers, but he didn't know the nature of the problem. He didn't know whether it was a surface area problem or a volume problem. This hints at a fundamental criterion for summative assessment task design. It is not indicative of understanding if the task simply requires students to fill in some values, to simply perform a procedure. For the task to be evidentiary of understanding, the task must actually require the student to first of all determine what is the nature of this problem. So then the student draws upon their knowledge, their skills, the procedures, etc., etc. But fundamentally, they have to decide what is the nature of this problem and what solution am I going to come up to solve it. So that's just one little example that high-quality summative tasks that are indeed going to provide the opportunity for demonstration of excellence must be rich enough to elicit that evidence.